But we hold on to things because we feel like it protects us. But we really know that it's not serving us anymore. So if this protected you like in maybe like 10 relationships ago, you're with a completely different person now, and you know that you're with a completely different person, but you choose to hold on to this stuff that probably interrupted the relationship 10 years ago.
Right.
You know, just be willing to be honest with the fact that, you know what, maybe I don't need this anymore. Be willing to let it go.
And I think you make a good point with the hoarders too, because we all have different levels. This is another example of the different levels of extraneous things that we have in our space. Some of us are cleaner than others.
Right.
You walk in, everything looks neat and in place. But then we have some things in our closet. You know, the closet might not be so straight.
Or the bedroom that
Or
no one can see.
other bedroom that no one can see, exactly.
Right.
And you have things thrown all over the place, and or you know things are shoved up in there. And then you do have people that have everything neatly packaged because they're at a different level. They know that things have their place, and it makes things easier for them when they need to go and retrieve them, right? And then you have some people that you know have kind of mess all through the house, not really that horrible, but could be cleaned up a little. And then you have some people, you walk in the house and you're like, oh my God, what is going on in here? And then you have the level of the hoarders, which that's a whole nother level of astonishment, because that's not just keeping things. The shows that I've seen, and I don't know because I haven't really like watched the show, but I've seen a couple of segments, and it's always like a lot of trash. I mean, like unbelievable stuff, like people live in a dump. Is that pretty much how most of the shows are on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't sit down and watch a lot of them either, but yeah. But then you also have people that, I was funny you said that because I was watching the Kardashians last couple of weeks ago, I think, and Kris Kardashian, they were going through to have a garage sale. And they found like about 10 potato peelers, you know, and the daughter said, why does somebody need all of these peelers? Well, one of the things that she said in that moment, she was really honest about, she said, you know, it might have come from a place of never feeling like you could have or not feeling like you had enough. And so when you get to a place where you're able to get something, you're storing all of these things that you really don't need, you know. And so I thought that was interesting, even with relationships, because we come from a particular mindset,
right,
and we carry that mindset into the future. I mean, because now the Kardashians have millions of dollars. They don't need to be hoarding anything or storing up stuff, you know.
I think I
it's
saw
the
that
conditioning.
segment. She said something else too when she was in the kitchen, and with respect to building on that same concept, that she thinks it came from a place of when she didn't have, and
That's
she
right.
said, and now she's making sure she never does not have again.
That's
So
right.
she wants everything right there at her disposal.
That's exactly it. But look at the conditioning, and also look at the expectation, because she's saying that there is an underlying expectation of not having again. So she's trying to do everything that she can to make sure that she has. But we talk about the thoughts and how thoughts create things. You know, our thoughts are words, and our words create things. And so a lot of times we have these thoughts, and then we speak them, and we create the very experience that we're trying to avoid.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that happens a lot in relationships. And, you know, being honest with yourself, you know, just really looking at your pattern, looking at the cycles in your different relationships really helps you to be clear and identify a lot of things. But the only way that stuff is going to come up is if you're truly honest, first with yourself and then with your partner. And, you know, I like how your honesty ties in with transparency, because sometimes it is necessary that we be transparent, but we are terrified of being vulnerable, because we feel like if we expose ourselves to our partner, we give them cause to hurt us, or we give them the ammunition or the tools to be able to hurt us.
So that goes back to what we were talking about in the last segment, the last topic, and I gave you the example of Lenji and the swordsman and the Buddhist monk, the one-upmanship, or the in and out, or the near and far. It's like we are still in, and then I mentioned the power struggle that are in common relationships. When we're not living a conscious relationship, we will live in a power struggle relationship, no matter how emphasize that power struggle is, it will exist until we can choose to live in a place of transparency. And that can only come from our authenticity and honesty with ourselves. To me, honesty is transparency. They are not mutually exclusive. And to me, the transparency is a deeper understanding of what honesty looks like.
Correct.
It's removing the need to restrict or to put up barriers or to put up windows or mirrors that deflect and draw attention somewhere else, that you can really be right where you need to be with whomever you're talking to or with, and allow that the honesty of where you are be your truth.
Yeah.
Even if it means that it's going to somehow put you in an imposition, because a lot of times people are not transparent because they feel like they need to create what they want, and they do it through a place of emotional manipulation. And this is where that's another dynamic of the power struggle, but it comes from a deceitful place. Even if you don't mean it maliciously, and I had a conversation with a very special person to me a couple of days ago about this same thing, that it doesn't matter if it's malicious and it has some really negative, heavy energy to it. The point is that to be restrictive and to be manipulative on any level is a shadow energy.
Right.
It is coming from fear.
Absolutely.
And so we have got to abandon these things, because when we operate from a place of manipulation, then what we're truly saying is that we're not in a place of faith. We're not honoring that our truth and our presence has a divine plan, and that unfoldment will happen perfectly for us if we just stay the course.
And in this program, Let's R.A.P., Rise Above Personal Perception, we are encouraging you and inviting you to go into your perceptions, go into those things that you think about, because there are two places that we can operate from. So old perception is fear-based. New perception is love-based. And, if you've been conditioned to operating from a place of fear, it's going to take a minute or two or three in order for you to really evaluate where you are, see that there's a need to move forward, and then move forward, because you decide you want to become healthy. First thing is the decision. Then you need to decide you're going to get up off the couch. And it takes effort to get up off the couch. And then you got to put on your sneakers, or, go to the gym or go out and walk. So it's a process. It's not something that happens boom, boom, boom.
Absolutely.
But I am a firm believer, though, that the minute you decide it is the minute that it happens. Because whenever we make a decision about something, if I decide right now I want some chocolate Haagen-Dazs ice cream, I already have the ice cream, because I decided as soon as we finish, I'm going to go and get some ice cream. So understand that it begins with you, the thought, and you being willing to move into it. And so the second key component to having a successful relationship is communication. So an old perception, fear-based way of operating with regards to communicating is being confrontational and a lot of times avoiding stuff. But when you operate from a place of love, you're more communicative and engaging and communicating consciously. And one of the things is, as I was, just meditating about this program, one of the things that came to me is we communicate vows when we get married. So we're specifically talking about marriage here. We communicate vows. And two of the vows that came to the forefront was, till death do us part. I was wondering, where did that come from? Why did anybody ever put that there, till death do us part? And also for better or for worse. But we don't, even in the times when things seem worse, what a lot of us really mean is for better, we're not even entertaining worse. But you have to be willing to consciously, and so even when we say the vows, we're not even conscious a lot of times about what we're saying or really taking.
We're listening to what we're saying, but we are not accepting the possibility of the negative aspects, or what we call the shadow act, or the ebb aspect, which is the restrictive aspect of the relationship, which is the sickness, not the health, which is the worse, not the better. That those are the restrictive aspects, but we have to begin to really live, and instead of just surviving.
Live and let live.
Yeah, it's like we are really in survival mode. Many of us are in survival mode. We are not in thrive mode.
That's why we operate from a place of fight or flight.
Exactly, and we're constantly in that place. So what if we're in a place where we're not thriving, then what are we always doing? We're playing catch up, not only with our lives but with our relationships. We are spending our lives trying to save the relationship, and this is something that I really invite you to just sit with for a minute. What am I really saying here? What does that really mean? That I'm spending the entire relationship trying to save the relationship, as opposed to co-creating in that relationship as a true partnership and thriving as one spirit towards two. We do have two individual aspects of our lives, but the whole point of that union is to come together for one common goal and to make those individual purposes complementary to the divine purpose, to the whole goal. And so when you're doing that, a lot of times we're not focused on our whole goal. We're not focused on the ultimate goal of what it means to be in love. And when I say in love now, I'm not speaking from the common place of, oh, I'm so in love with him, or I'm so in love with her, or this or that. I'm speaking from the point of in love, literally in the beingness of love.
And flowing in the energy and operating from the energy of love. Because that's another thing too, like that word love is just so loosely used.
And
thrown
so
around.
Misinterpreted.
And you know what the truth of the matter is? If you really ask a person, and I'm putting my hand up because I'm guilty of this too. I'm working through this myself. But if you ask a person, why do you love that person? A lot of times they can't answer you. And if we do answer, we answer like from a surface place. And even challenging people to go deeper becomes like a headache or too overwhelming. But we a lot of times we get into these relationships because they feel good. Or they make us feel good.